everyone, and welcome to On the Clock, the one and only show that brings you the best of fantasy football and ultimate draft lineups. I'm your host, CC Cam, and we got a jam-packed show today as our fantasy analysts will give their booms and dooms for this upcoming week. Then your GMs will be drafting their lineups of players who have won the World Series and are still currently playing in MLB. All that and so much more on today's episode of On the Clock. Now filling in today for the Costco guys, we have our expert fantasy analysts, Parker and Patrick, to give their booms and dooms for this upcoming week. It has already reached the halfway point in the NFL season, and going into Week 8, there are some players who have been showing up for their team than other players who just aren't cutting it. So Parker, who is your first boom for the week?
First of all, Cece, I just want to say I do not know this meme. I don't pretend to know this meme. And based on what I've heard, I don't want to know this meme. That being said, we're going to get right into it. We got to start Damo, David Montgomery, an absolute stud. He's been incredible all year. I was one of those guys who was like, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to start stealing snaps. No, because Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson are absolute madmen. Both of them are getting incredible time, and Damo is still the lead guy in that backfield. He's only RB12 right now, but that's because it's been an amazing season to be a running back. He's averaging 16 points, incredibly productive. He's almost good for a touchdown a game if you're in that gambling world. He's really, really solid. He's good for scrimmage yards. He had one bad game all season, and it was last week. So you can technically buy low on him right now if you're in the trade market. It's a great pickup. He's been extremely productive.
Absolutely love that pick, Parker, especially with how well the Lions are functioning right now on the offensive side of the ball. It's incredible. I'm going to be switching it up, going with Davante Adams for my first boom, wide receiver for the New York Jets. I know it still sounds weird, right? I understand that, Monday Night Football had a little bit of a bad game, only 3 receptions, 30 yards. I'm going to attribute that to some growing pains.
It was his first game with the team.
Exactly. He showed up on Monday, and they gave him a whole week. I don't know anybody that's learned an entire playbook in a week except for Baker Mayfield with the Rams. All right? And I think that him and Aaron Rodgers, there's obvious chemistry. He's going to get the ball. He's going to produce. That's just how it works. That's how it's always worked.
Plus, don't forget, he really was nursing that hamstring injury. I'm going to come right back in. Second boom. I got to touch on Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers. I know I'm a Ravens guy. In the episodes that haven't aired, I know I've been a Ravens guy a couple times in a row. This time it's for real. I love writing about fantasy stuff, talking about fantasy stuff, and whenever I do lists, Zay Flowers is no longer on those lists because now people are starting to acknowledge, oh, he is that number one guy. Oh, he's a serious starter. He should be starting in my league every single week at that wide receiver spot. He's coming off a week where he got his bell rung early in the game. Don't buy what you saw against the Buccaneers just last night when we're recording this a couple days ago when this comes out. It wasn't his best game, but he's coming off of 2 incredibly productive ones. He's going to continue to be Lamar's number one guy after Derrick Henry, of course.
Again, love it. He's also incredible in space, gets a lot of handoffs on those jet sweeps, and he's going to be a great playmaker for that Baltimore Ravens team. I'm going to go with a quarterback in a boom or doom. And you never see anybody pick a quarterback. It's always the skill position players, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. I really like Patrick Mahomes, all right? And I think Patrick Mahomes is pretty unanimously the best player in the league. I know, it's crazy. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a game where he's at over 16 points. He's the 22nd ranked quarterback. That doesn't make any sense. That's not who Patrick Mahomes is. I don't think that's who Patrick Mahomes wants to be. The Chiefs are 6-0. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played his best. Watch out for when he does, because it's going to get scary.
If someone is square enough to try to let me trade for Patrick Mahomes, especially down the stretch of the season, that's a square, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to move in. We got to get into our dooms, and I got to start with Garrett Wilson. Obviously, you started out with Davante Adams, and it's not even a Davante Adams is going to steal all his targets thing. It's the Jets aren't that good. That is as simple as it is. Aaron Rodgers is not that guy anymore. And it hurts me to say it. It doesn't actually. I don't like the guy that much. But it hurts me to say it from a football perspective because I wanted to buy low on the Jets and say they're going to be great this year. But right now, after Saleh got fired, everything's in the toilet. And Garrett Wilson is the best player on that team, bar none. But the best player on that team, without good quarterback play, isn't going to be enough.
Now, before we get into your first doom, Patrick, Parker, Garrett Wilson performed better than Adams did numbers-wise on Sunday, but now that Davante Adams is Rodgers' number one receiver, do you really believe that Wilson will take a back seat as Adams is still getting used to the new system?
I think the target share is going to be tough on both of them. You saw a lot of targets going both their ways, and a lot of those ending up getting dropped. Sorry, I was talking to Cece over here. A lot of those targets for both of those guys ended up on the ground either way. I just think Garrett Wilson is going to have his growth stunted a significant amount here. And while I don't think he's necessarily not going to be in lineups all the time, he's down from being your wide receiver 1 to being a flex guy. And that's just not what you want to do. You should trade him away.
Exactly. That's perfect. That's just what I'm looking for when I hear an analysis of the New York Jets. Also love the little bit of shade towards Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been performing his best either.
All right, hit me with
That's
your
not
dooms,
good.
baby. Come on.
First doom, here we go. They just made a big trade, which means someone's getting less production. That's going to be Keon Coleman on the Buffalo Bills. Amari Cooper, his first catch as a Bill was a touchdown. Josh Allen loves the guy. He's going to have a career resurgence in Buffalo, and that's not good news for Keon Coleman, who had a great couple of first weeks, kind of started to taper off, had a really good week. He's really hit or miss right now, and I think you're going to see a lot more misses than hits with him, especially being a rookie in that Bills system. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, just had a great game. Josh Allen's going to get more confident with them, and I think that's why he's not going to produce.
It's tough. I love Keon Coleman. He was a great pick, and they got him for a steal on that second-round pick rookie deal, by getting him at 33, trading back. Almost good that they gave the Chiefs Xavier Worthy. It's not. We're going to move into my other doom. This one's a little more obvious, but for people who haven't been paying a ton of attention, it's a presumed RB1. Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars, just not the pick going forward. Generally, he's already being benched for Tank Bigsby. He's dealing with injury right now. Tank Bigsby's touches are going up. His projection has gone back down this week, so Etienne's expected to play, expected to take some of those snaps back. That being said, Bigsby has been incredibly productive. Trevor Lawrence is starting to connect with these young guys really, really well. I just think that Etienne's stock is going to fall because all his other guys are starting to come up.
They needed a spark in Jacksonville. They went to Tank Bigsby, and it has worked miracles for that offense. All right, you're seeing production out of him that you would never see from Travis Etienne in that system. Going on to my final doom, I'm going to pick the Packers running back Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs signed with Green Bay on a pretty big deal this offseason, and they changed him out for Aaron Jones. And everything looked like it was going great. He's had a nice couple of weeks. As you can see here, he's ranked as the 14th best running back in fantasy this year. But the Packers' schedule is going to start to ramp up. They still got to play the Lions twice. They got to play the Bears. Those are good defenses. And I understand that Josh Jacobs can be used as a weapon in the backfield and in the receiving game, but I just don't see how he fits.
I don't know if I love that one. I think Josh Jacobs is very productive, and the Packers are just such a high-scoring team that it's good. He got his first career receiving touchdown last week. That being said, I think a bunch of good picks on your side. I'm also shaky on Devontae Adams just because I don't trust the Jets. That being said, really solid list from you. That was really good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I think the Costco guys would have to agree with those booms and dooms. But when we come back, we have our GMs joining us for the long-awaited draft segment. It's reached the time for our final segment of the show, and I'm now joined with our GMs as the World Series has officially been decided between the Dodgers and Yankees to battle it out for the coveted Commissioner's Trophy. So keeping it on the World Series themes, our GM will have the opportunity to draft a lineup of players who have been to the World Series in the past who are still currently playing in MLB. So Evan, starting off with you, who is your first pick?
I am going with 2019 World Series champion Juan Soto to take my first outfield spot. He won it as a national in 2019, and he's currently back in it in the Yankees.
All right, Falco, you're now on the clock.
All right, thank you, Cece. For my first pick, I need somebody that can do it all. I need somebody who can hit, run, play defense, heck, probably can even shoot a three-pointer. I need Mookie Betts in the outfield.
All right, Jack, to round out the first picks, who you got?
Great bowler, by the way. I'm going with one of the best hitters in all of MLB baseball. I'm going with Yordan Alvarez. I'm throwing him in the outfield. He's a good enough defender. I think he's an amazing batter as well. I'm super excited to have him. And then for my next pick, I'm going to go with Rafael Devers at an infield spot. This guy, he's a beast. One of the best third basemen in all of baseball, one of the best players in all of baseball. I'm so excited to have both of these guys on my roster.
Yeah, you might be the best third baseman against Garrett Cole, but everybody else, maybe not. All right, that being said, my next pick, I already have a Dodger up here, so why not get another one? Give me Freddie Freeman, an underdog story with the Atlanta Braves, now joins one of the top teams in the Los Angeles Dodgers to face off with the New York Yankees. I'm excited with this pick.
So with my next pick, I'm going to go with my pitcher here, 2018 World Series champion, likely 2024 Cy Young winner, Chris Sale from the Boston Red Sox in 2018. And with my next pick, I am going to go with two-time World Series champion, two-time World Series MVP, Corey Seager at my first infield spot.
That's a valid choice. Those are two valid choices, Evan. But my next pick, I'm going to have another infielder. And why not another Dodger? Or, well, let's say a former Dodger in Trey Turner. So this guy has had some of the most magical postseason runs in recent MLB history. And with this team, with Betts, with Freeman, with Turner, I think this is an unstoppable team so far.
Well, for me, I like those picks. I'm going to take my pitcher as well. The pitching depth, not that great in this draft. I'm going to take Framber Valdez. This guy, he's a beast. He was a beast in 2022, and he's still a beast today. Next, thank you for taking Trey Turner. I'm now going to take my shortstop, former Red Sox as well, Xander Bogaerts. This guy, he's a beast. He was a beast in 2018, still an amazing player today, one of the best shortstops in baseball.
That is a valid pick. Might I say, I think Trey Turner's just a little better, but we can agree to disagree. But my next pick, I need somebody who's maybe underlooked a little bit. I need William Contreras at my DH spot. This guy is only 26 years old, batted .280 just this past season, and is destined for more.
If you want to talk about overlooked here, I'm going with quite possibly the most overlooked infielder in the league, Ozzie Albies, 2021 World Series champion for the Atlanta Braves. With my next pick, I'm going to round out my outfield. I'm going with 2022 World Series champion, Kyle Tucker.
You know, I like both of those picks. But for my next outfield spot, we need somebody with a nickname, the Schwarbomb, baby. Give me Kyle Schwarber at the outfield position.
Well, that made me laugh. Thank you. Ozzie Albies, fine pick, but you're leaving a guy who's one of the best postseason performers of all time. Give me Jose Altuve, one of the best second basemen in all of baseball, really, really key for all of the Astros' success so far. And then next, I'm going to take my final outfield spot. I'm going to go with Cody Bellinger. This guy, underrated now with the Cubs. He was really, really good with the Dodgers throughout his time there. Went through some struggles, but now one of the best outfielders of baseball again. I think that's a very underrated pick, especially putting him in center field.
Well, since you practically picked all the other Astros, I'm going to pick the last one on the board. Give me Alex Bregman. This guy had a pretty solid season just this past year and is the hottest free agent infielder on the market.
So, with my second to last pick here, I'm going to go with 2016 World Series champion. And everybody seems to forget that he won an MVP. I'm going with Chris Bryant here to round out my infield. And to round out my team, I'm going with 2023 World Series champion, Marcus Semien, one of the most underrated players in the league.
All right, for my last pick, I need a pitcher. So that being said, give me Clayton Kershaw. Okay, and yes, that's understandable. Both of you should be laughing right now because of 2024. We can all agree here, guys. He was abysmal this past season.
He didn't play.
Yeah, he had 7 games. He played 7 games. And
sorry.
Yeah, he played. So that being said, he was very abysmal. But that being said, he has that World Series experience. He has the playoff experience. You have to remember, just a few years ago, he dominated for the Los Angeles Dodgers, winning a World Series in 2020.
How old is he now? Like, Falco. I know the depth is bad. It's not that bad. Anyway, with my DH, I'm going with one of the best players from that Texas team that won it in 2023. I'm going to Adolis Garcia. This guy can hit the ball like a maniac. He is one of the best players in baseball. Had a semi-down year, but I'm banking on him coming back to that 2023 form this next season.
Some pretty legit teams, if I do say so myself, but we'll be right back with our GM to debate which player on each team had the best postseason run when they won the World Series. Welcome back. It's now time for our GMs to each pitch which player on their team had the best postseason run when they won the World Series. But the trick is, even if they have been to multiple World Series, you could only pick the specific team and year they are on when they won. So, Evan, who are you taking, and why does this player deserve the best World Series run?
So I'm going to go with Juan Soto. He was my first pick. He was only 19 years old when the Washington Nationals won the World Series in 2019. He hit .333 in the World Series, had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. He also had one of the most iconic swings in postseason history when he hit a bases-clearing double off of the unhittable Josh Hader in the wild card game. I'm going with Juan Soto.
All right, that's an understandable pick, but I have to go with 2020 Mookie Betts. This guy can hit, he can play defense, and he can run. I said that earlier. I'm going to say it again because nothing's changed, especially with 2020 Mookie Betts in his prime with that 2020 Los Angeles Dodgers team.
Well, I'm going to go with one of the most underrated postseason runs I've ever seen, 2022 Framber Valdez. This guy was a monster, especially in the World Series. A 1.46 ERA in 12.1 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, and in that entire postseason had a 1.44 ERA with 33 strikeouts. He was dominant and a key success and a key piece to why the Houston Astros had success that year.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that any of us here have bad choices. I'm just going to say your guys weren't 19 when they were doing it.
Well,
I'm 19 right now. I'm standing on this stage.
There we go.
Juan Soto was 19 playing in the World Series. That is insane.
I can say someone has a bad pick. Falco. Mookie Betts in 2020 batted .230. He was a below-average hitter. He was a good defender. Don't get me wrong, and he could run well, but nowhere near the talent of Juan Soto or Framber Valdez in their respective postseason runs.
Okay, but here's the issue, though. Mookie Betts actually played all of the games he was in. Framber Valdez played what? Once every other freaking game? Like I would pick somebody on that entire Houston Astros team except for a pitcher. I want batters who can actually play in all of the games. I need somebody like that. But like Mookie Betts, he can hit, he can field. Like you mentioned, he's a great fielder. Granted, he's not as great as a hitter as Juan Soto was.
Falco, here's the thing. You mentioned, yes, Mookie played great. It was also the shortest season in MLB history.
Oh,
he's a pretty injury-prone player guy.
Okay.
If they play a full 162, he's maybe getting to
So
part
are we
of this
talking about the
World Series.
2020 regular season, or are we talking about the
I'm talking about the
Sorry to
Fantasy
cut you
Analysts.
guys off, but no doubt all those players had incredible World Series runs, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be the standout player in this World Series this year. Well, that wraps up everything for today's episode of On the Clock. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to tune in next week for even more hot takes and debates from our fantasy analysts and GMs. I'm CC Cam. Have a stellar rest of your day, everyone.